So I want to tell you guys a really cool story that even got Dr. Dee interested. I didn't realize didn't tell her about it. I just told her about it yesterday. So, family constellation healing. Have you ever seen a person cross over? Maybe some of you have. Well, and Dr. Dee, right? I say Dr. Dee because she's had many spiritual experiences. One time when she was just practicing, I guess in this life, because she had all this experience from past lives, she was just practicing Reiki. She put me on her table. She had me on her table, and this was years ago, right? She had me on her table, and I didn't feel like it was her doing the Reiki. I felt like it was somebody else, and she was kind of telling me what she was picking up on energetically that she was healing from my body. And well, anyway, so like an hour and a half later, because she's like all excited, like first time ever doing it, like blasting me with Reiki, I open my eyes and it's dusk in there. She blew open my third eye. So I don't know if any of you have ever had an experience of that, but I was picking up on all kinds of different sensitive energies that were in the room that I had no idea really actually existed outside of movies. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you have a scared ghost in your bathroom, and holy moly, you don't even look like you. I actually saw like her Reiki angel that was helping her do the Reiki on her face. And it's easier for me to kind of see these things when it's kind of a twilight lighting, because the veil is thinner, and so it's kind of twilight. But energetically, man, there was a lot of different energies in her house that didn't belong in her house, and I was freaked out. I had no experience whatsoever before. But anyway, so that was like years ago with Dr. Dee, right? And so, so for me and her to kind of experience that together, and then for her to be surprised about what happened at this family constellation. So I have this because I want to use visuals better than the last story I told you about family constellation. So it's a group therapy. And so I'm going to just kind of use some stones to represent different group members. And this is one that I witnessed. I was not the facilitator. I don't have permission yet. I need to kind of put that in a consent form. So no reason, well, that stone's not going to work, why I'm picking each stone, other than they're kind of like what's here, right? So it doesn't matter that some are pink, whatever. Okay. So let's say, well, let's use this one as the facilitator of the group so that it's a little bit different. And then I'll just make this a bigger circle so that it's more clear what's inside the circle and what's outside the circle. Okay, so there was this person that I know who gave me permission to share this, who has a disease, and so she worked with Family Constellation Healing to heal the disease. So the facilitator took her and kind of asked her some questions and got to know what was going on, and he chose to bring one person in that was in the group, right? This is someone that doesn't know anything about this person, it's a random group, to represent her, and another person in to represent the disease. And and they kind of just move around the group and notice what they notice, which is actually processing some of the emotions just as they move, some of the stuff that's there. And what wound up happening was they wound up going next to each other. And the disease was like standing there, and my friend went and put her head on his chest and just kind of rested like that. And he shared with the group, I know that sometimes she pushes me away, but it feels like that's the wrong thing to do. It feels like we're actually fated to be together. And she just stood there resting on him. And then we let some space happen. And then I think at the same time, me and the facilitator kind of got it. This wasn't a disease at all, right? And this is just from people feeling into their bodies and getting in touch with their intuition. It wasn't a disease at all. We're like, that's her dad. And so turns out her dad died of an infection when she was 4. And her disease is chronic, but it's bothersome, but she kept having this fear of, is this the infection that's going to kill me? Is this the infection that's going to kill me? The doctors kept saying, no, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. Well, that's how her dad died. And so there were they facilitated some healing moments. The dad said, I never would have left you if I didn't have to. And she said, I miss you. And, you know, and all that kind of stuff came up. And when they had resolved and finished their unfinished business, what happened was the person holding space for the dad, because right, the dad said, the person holding space for the dad said, whoa, something just came in behind me and I'm afraid of it because it's going to change my relationship with her. Right? I get chills just telling you about it. So the facilitator asked for, you know, what's your dad's story, blah, blah, blah. So this will represent, so this would just pulled another person in from the group to come stand in that space, feel into their body about what they notice. And so it's kind of right there in like sacred space. And, you know, spatial clairvoyance, you can do this at any time, but, you know, this comes from the history of family constellations. It's from the Zulu African tribe, and lots of shamans, spiritualists work on healing the ancestors. So if the microphone's picking up on my dog drinking water, that's what that noise is. We just came back from a walk. So get some history on what just came in. And his first wife died years before, and apparently that they had a really strong, powerful connection. So the person standing here is like, yeah, I think I could be her. So they facilitated some conversations, some introductions. It's nice to meet you. Because you left, I was able to be born. Thank you for that. That kind of thing. And literally, we watched her dad cross over and go with the dead. And so, did it cure her disease on the first time? No. Did it alleviate stress in her body because her dad's no longer attached to her physical body? On the way up there, you know, when the layer's ready to come up, you start to kind of feel uncomfortable. Sometimes just making the program or just knowing that it's going to happen, the symptoms start to come up. So on the way up there, and I spent time with her, and I never felt this ungrounded before. But driving up, I felt really ungrounded, which is kind of a sign of there's like something else kind of there for me. You know, people maybe have different signs. And she had said, you know, I'd go and I'd do this kind of self-healing. I like to go to different people. One of the things with going to different people is we don't see ourselves well, and people have different perspectives. So even though I might be pretty insightful and get some good hits, I still like going to other people for myself so that they can see me better, right? Or maybe they have different knowledge than I have, or their intuition picks up on something, or maybe karmically they're meant to heal me. So I go to different people. You know, this is frozen. I hope this is still recording. Okay, it is. So he crossed over. So the ruminations, the obsessive thoughts of, is this what's going to kill me? He's not in her space. She's pretty sensitive herself. We all are, but we just don't know the differentiation because we're so used to believing that the world is just three-dimensional instead of multi-dimensional, right? And she's kind of just realizing how psychic she is. And when we become 40 or start approaching 40 years old, our spiritual body starts to develop. So some of us get way more sensitive. And if we've been doing different self-healing things like acupuncture, you know, the gook that was kind of clogging up our chakras or our third eye, it starts to clear out. So the more different kinds of modalities, the more intuitive we get anyway. So that intrusive thought that was stressing her out is gone. When an energy is attached to us that's not ours, it can make us feel more tired too. So it gives her more energy. So now she's set up in another modality for her body to heal itself. So sometimes, of course, it can shift something right away. But I really believe we're multidimensional beings. So I believe it takes more than one modality to address something. So, I'm not, so I focus on the spiritual, mental, emotional. And so this is kind of all three of those categories, right? This kind of technique. So do I advocate to still go see the doctor and address the physical? Absolutely. Follow your intuition based on kind of even how our unconscious mind is set up. Some people need to go to the doctor, where other people maybe don't because they don't really believe the doctor's going to heal them. So it really is like, thank goodness we're adults. We're allowed to kind of make our own treatment plan, kind of trust what we think is the healing modality we need. But doing something like this is powerful. It helps clean things up. It relieves stress and tension and worry, etc. in our bodies, so it can be preventative. Now, the other thing is just because she was here, everybody else that was in the room, right? Each one of these stones, just a reminder, represents people. Everyone else in the room, there's only so many different ways that humanity that can have problems, right? So actually there was somebody that was sitting like right here, and she said, whoa, I have the same story. That was so powerful for me, because our unconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between self and other. So when we witness one person getting a healing, it actually holds space and heals us too. I've actually, welcome to what goes on in my bed. So I've actually stood in, because sometimes you get more people in the group. So I stood in and represented somebody's people, and you work on kind of like Minuchin. He's a psychologist. He created structural family therapy. He believes when the family structure is in order, so the parents on top, the children on the bottom, society under that, as far as boundary goes, the family system is healthy. So there's certain things that acting this out puts the family back in family structure. And so it's like the parents being in, you know, whatever. So I literally felt like different parts of my brain when I stood in for one of these, like